What makes good Star Wars? This is a question that I have been trying to answer personally for quite a while now. Does good Star Wars need to have Jedi, lightsabers, Death Stars, droids? I don't think any of these things are necessarily required for something to be a good Star Wars story. To me, the best Star Wars is Star Wars that doesn't answer every single question that I have. Think back to the original Star Wars. That movie did nothing but open doors of possibility of what could happen in this huge universe. We were left with all kinds of questions. What is the Force? What are the Jedi? Where did they go? Who is Darth Vader? How did Han Solo get so awesome? Star Wars becomes less fun once they start answering all of these questions, because the possibilities of what could happen start to diminish. I'm not able to make up my own stories about Han Solo meeting Chewbacca because I saw how that played out in the movie universe. And I say all of this because I think Star Wars Visions on Disney Plus does the best job of providing the possibilities of new stories out of anything that has come out of Star Wars since Disney bought it. And as much as I enjoyed this Disney Plus show, I have not heard enough people talking about it. And so today I want to recommend it to you in the hopes that you will check it out. Star Wars Visions is 9 animated shorts by Japanese animation studios in the Star Wars universe. They were all released on September 22nd, 2021, and none of them take place in the Star Wars canon itself, which means they don't have to abide by any kind of rules of what actually happens in the movies or in the books or in the comics or any of the things that are considered the actual canon. Because of this freedom, we have stories that take place throughout the entire Star Wars timeline, all the way from before the prequel trilogy to years and years after the Rise of Skywalker. Now, I did say that this is Japanese animation, which is more popularly referred to as anime, and that can be a big thing for some people. They can say, it's anime, I'm not interested. And I do want to point out right here at the front that I am not a big anime guy. And so I would say, don't let it scare you away from actually giving these things a shot. Each one of these shorts is only about 15 minutes long, so even if you don't particularly like the one that you're watching right now, it's going to be over real quick. You'll be able to move on to the next one, and hopefully that one will be more up your alley. Since all of them have different looks and tones and stories that they're telling, I guarantee there's got to be at least one of these that is going to satisfy what you want from Star Wars. Another fun little note is that each episode is available in either English or Japanese, and so if you are somebody who likes to watch anime, you do have the option to either have it be subtitled or dubbed, depending on what you prefer. I recommend the whole series, but if you need to be sold a little bit more, let's take a quick look at each one of the shorts so I can give you some general spoiler-free thoughts. Episode 1, The Duel. This one has probably the most striking art style for me personally. It really looks and feels like an old samurai movie. It also seems to be the furthest away from the Star Wars universe we get with how things are portrayed, with everything being kind of a mix of feudal Japan and the Star Wars universe. This short is about a Ronin who witnesses some bad things happening in a town and him stepping up and helping out the town in their time of crisis. I don't want to spoil some of the big story things that happen in this one, but I do just want to point out that the bad guy in this one has a really cool lightsaber weapon that fits with what is going on in this story. This one ranks pretty high for me. Out of all of these, it's one of my favorites. I'd definitely give it like an 8 out of 10. Episode 2, Tatooine Rhapsody. Now this one has a really low rating on IMDb, and I can understand this one is definitely not for everybody, but for me it kind of really hits that kind of goofy spot. It takes itself way less seriously than episode 1 does. Tatooine Rhapsody is the story of a Jedi who, after the Clone Wars, goes into hiding and ends up getting caught up in the life of a band. When they find out that one of the members of their band is being hunted down by Boba Fett to be given to one of his bosses, they have to come together to try to figure out a way to stop his execution. This one's got a real cartoony kind of chibi feel with the animation, and it's fun to see some of the more familiar Star Wars things drawn in that way. This one's real goofy. I can definitely understand people don't like it, but for me, it was a lot of fun. I'd probably give this one a 7 out of 10. Episode 3, The Twins. This one definitely feels the most quote-unquote anime to me, like the kind of anime that I would watch like on Saturday morning. Lots of big action, dramatic poses, like powering up kind of things. The story surrounds two siblings who are born to do some really dark force stuff. And this takes place after the Empire has fallen in Return of the Jedi. And for me, the story isn't that exciting, though there are really some big moments when it comes to the action and everything. I'd probably give the twins a 6 out of 10. Episode 4, The Village Bride. This one kind of feels similar to the first episode in what the story is bringing, but the way that it's presented in the animation is obviously a lot different. I love seeing Jedi portrayed in this way where they're just out doing good things and helping people. It really feels like sometimes we didn't see enough of that in the movies themselves. I also like seeing planets and cultures that we didn't experience in Star Wars. It really kind of fleshes out the whole universe and the idea that there are just countless planets out there that are full of people experiencing the Force, experiencing the troubles that we've seen portrayed in the movies, but in their own different ways. I'll give The Village Bride a 7 out of 10. Episode 5, The Ninth Jedi. The Ninth Jedi feels like the most Star Wars-y story to me out of all of them. Not to say that that is a bad thing at all. It takes place at a point in history where there are just not very many Jedi left, and this one guy is making lightsabers for the remaining Jedi out in the universe and calling them together so that they can be given these tools to go out and do good things. The animation in this one is really cool, and the action scenes and the story that they managed to pull off in the amount of time that they have here is also pretty impressive. I like what this story does with lightsabers and how it's really kind of loose with the lore of it and how it changes like why people's lightsabers are different colors from what is actually in the canon. And again, I think that that's fun when you get that kind of flexibility. For me, The Ninth Jedi is going to get an 8 out of 10. Episode 6, T0B1. Toby. This is one that I absolutely loved. It is probably my favorite one out of all of the Star Wars Visions episodes. The animation style is really kind of, like Astro Boy, Mega Man feel, and the fact that it's a robot, and what do the droids feel when it comes to the Force? Because, they always are kind of walking that line of like, is it alive? Is it not alive? Some of the most human characters in all of Star Wars are the droids that we meet. And this one, like most of these stories, really kind of ends with a possibility just being right there out in front of us and hoping like, oh, will we get to see what happens next? Knowing that we probably won't, but that doesn't mean that we can't think about and theorize what might happen in the future for these characters. Toby, for me, is going to be easily like a 9 out of 10. Episode 7, The Elder. This one is just really like foreboding and kind of dark, and I like that. I like that, come to this one right after, the one that looks like Astro Boy. We get this one that's really pretty dark in what is going on, animation-wise, but then also story-wise. Scary old people is always a fun thing in stories, at least for me, especially when they're like legitimate threats like the guy is in this one. I like seeing a Jedi and Padawan relationship that feels healthy, and we get a couple of those throughout this series, but this one especially just feels good. Like that these guys have a good relationship and that the Master cares for this Padawan and wants him to succeed and to grow, and that the Padawan respects the Master, but yet still is, trying to do his own thing. Again, this is one where you like wish you could know more about what's going to happen next, but either way, it's still a really good time. The Elder's going to easily be an 8 out of 10 for me. Episode 8, Lop Ochō. This one's got some fun organized crime kind of feel to it, with the whole idea of like what makes somebody real family, and that always kind of go along with that type of story, but yet still happening in the Star Wars universe. So you get some familiar types of action, things that you would expect to see, but also some imagery that we don't see a ton in Star Wars, like the fact that there's a rabbit lady. I wouldn't say that this one is bad, but I just didn't feel like it was bringing a ton to the table, like with kind of the experimentation that we've been seeing in the series up until this point. Still, it's nice to see good versus evil and everything, and so this one's going to get at least a decent rating of 6 out of 10 for me. Episode 9, Akakiri. This one is, for me, the low point, which is unfortunate that it ends on the low point, but that doesn't mean everybody's going to feel that way. It really is just the story that doesn't work on this one. But the reasons it doesn't work for me, I could definitely see it working for other people. I don't want to really go into any spoilers on it because it would require me spoiling the end of the story. But just know that this could be a hit or miss for you when it comes to the end of it. There are some fun side characters in this one, like the two older guys that are helping our main characters kind of navigate their story. They stand out. And the lightsaber animation in this one also is something that I thought was cool. It was different than what we had seen in the rest of the series. It is a different kind of story than we're used to seeing in Star Wars, and so for that, at least give it some points. And so Akakiri for me is going to be a 5 out of 10, which doesn't mean like a failing grade. I'm not saying percentage-wise. And so for me, none of these stories really hit below an average Star Wars story. Don't be scared off because it's anime. Don't be scared off because it's just animation in general. I'd say give them a try, and if you like Star Wars, I don't think you will leave this entire series disappointed. And if you have already seen Star Wars Visions, why don't you let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And if you do check it out, come back here and let me know in the comments as well. Did you enjoy it? What was your favorite episode? If you enjoyed this video and have checked out some of our other ones, please don't forget to subscribe. We really appreciate it. It's helping us get to our goals of subscribers. We can't do it without you. Look forward to seeing you next week with some more videos. Until then, you take care, and we will see you then.